Yeah, another good weekend for our team. Still moving in the right direction. Again, some of the changes we've made lineup-wise and stuff have been really positive, I think, for our team. And what is that, seven straight sweeps, I think. And, you know, we're playing better. We still have things we got to get better at. And this is obviously a really challenging week with a quick turnaround against Middle Tennessee. And then off to Florida, weather willing, and you know, so it should be an interesting week, but a week that our team's looking forward to.
Yeah, they keep talking about, you know, doing the little things, stressing the little things so far. You know, are you seeing that finally like kind of come to fruition for you also?
Yeah, I think you are. When you look at, you know, I have Katie print, you know, what we did just in the past week as a collective stat sheet, and it's a really clean looking sheet the last couple weeks. And, you know, that's, you know, there's just so many times we haven't been able to get out of our own way early in the year, but it's just you can't skip steps. You know, we have some veterans like Kayla Cox and Callie Bauer and kids like that, but sometimes I forget that, you know, we're rolling 2 freshmen out there and a sophomore out there, and a couple, you know, it still just takes time to develop that consistency, but we're getting there. We're playing better, and you know, we've got a stretch here where we need to continue to be consistent with what we do.
Now you're back in the midweek games after a pre-hiatus and not playing just weekends. Do you think just having that 2-day break kind of messes with the momentum, or do you think they'll be good?
It's going to be a challenge. There's no doubt. This week is going to be fatiguing for everyone. You know, 6 matches in 9 days or whatever it is, but, you know, I mean, kids love to play games. You know, it bothers me probably more than it bothers our players. They'd probably rather play than practice. And, you know, the next 2 are rivalry games against Middle Tennessee. And so you hope that, you know, gets their attention and gets them ready to play. But, you know, my approach hasn't changed from the very beginning. You know, when we were in that tough stretch where we were struggling, it was just about get better every week, and now it's still about get better every week. And I think we've done that. I think every week there's things you can point to that we're better at than we were the week before, and that's really the part you control. And we'll continue to do that this week.
You know, at the beginning of the season, before the season started, we talked about, you know, Kaylee stepping up into that leadership role, you know, number Page, number more. Is she up to where you wanted her to be in terms of being a leader?
She really is. She did, you know, it was the first thing I talked about after our match on Saturday against Kennesaw, because Kaylee came out and struggled early in that game in serve receive in a way that she hasn't struggled in a while, but yet, and I talked to our young players about this after the match, she really struggled in serve receive, but I picked up that stat sheet. After set 1, we win 25-23, and she had 6 kills and 5 digs. And, you know, that's what mature players do. If they're struggling in an area, they continue to play. If they're struggling in an area, they understand that they may have to make plays in other areas. And Kayla has been very, very good for us for about the last 3 or 4 weeks. You know, after struggling a little bit early, you know, kind of figuring out who she needed to be for this team. And but right now she's playing very, very well. Should be a great matchup Tuesday, Wednesday with 2 of the elite outside attackers, certainly in this league. But you know, these are kids that can play on a national scale. And Kaylee Cox and Adri Rhoda from Middle Tennessee is a tremendous player. They're both big physical kids and score a lot for their teams and do a lot of things. And so it should be a really, really fun matchup of 2 of the best that this league has to offer.
Talk about what's added to a rivalry match like the 100 off the Page game against Tennessee.
Yeah, I mean, you know, it doesn't matter if we're playing checkers or, you know, doing a blood drive or whatever it is between the 2 schools. I mean, and it's great. That's what college athletics was meant to be, is, you know, schools in close proximity that have a rivalry between fan bases, and that's what it is more often than not. It's usually much more of a rivalry between fan bases than it is teams in a lot of ways, because a lot of times the kids don't really know each other, and especially in this day and age of college athletics, right? And but it always adds to it. There's no question. There are there are fans every year that want you to win them all, but can live with it if you win these two. And I'm sure there's Middle Tennessee fans that feel the same way. And but with regards to this particular rivalry between us and their volleyball program, I'm actually quite fond of their coach and their coaching staff. They're good friends and do a good job. And so, you know, I know the fans will be excited for this one, which makes it more fun to show up and play.
This season we talked about, you know, serve receiving, improving that, getting better at that. You know, specifically for those who don't understand me, just like how do you get better at serve receiving and how do you improve more, you know, get better?
Yeah, there's two levels to it, and we have gotten better. And, you know, one of those is, you know, you're trying to perfect that first contact. If you put it right, it's kind of like in football when your quarterback has a clean pocket and can stand back there for a while, the game gets pretty easy. And that's the equivalent of a really good pass and serve receive. When Callie can just stand at the net, she can pick people apart. You know, when the pocket breaks down in football and, you know, it's hectic everywhere, it makes it a little more crazy for the quarterback and their offense. And when passing breaks down and Callie's on the move, running places, the degree of difficulty of every single set is exponential, and therefore your offense doesn't run as well. And so there's that level of trying to make it easy for her. But then there's also the level of, you take a kid like Callie Bauer who's so athletic that, you know, very often if you can just get the ball off the ground, like in the air, you know, it doesn't have to be perfect, but you just can't get aced. If you get aced, that's a point without anybody moving a muscle, you know. And if you can take that really tough serve and go from being a zero pass or an ace to just flipping that thing high in the air somewhere, and then Callie can usually put us in a situation where we do pretty good things. And so we've tried to eliminate the terminal points. In our first match against Kennesaw, it was the first time all year that our opponent had 0 service aces. And that's something we've been striving for, and you know, and hoped that that's the direction we're moving. And we have been much better, but we weren't as good on Saturday. So, you know, every team in the country will tell you it's a work in progress, but it's a huge indication of winning and losing most nights.
You know, you put an emphasis on growth throughout the year, especially facing these top teams at the beginning of the year.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of growth have you noticed throughout this 7-game win streak?
Just more complete. Like we're just not so reliant on one or two things anymore, one or two people. When you look, it's like we've hit almost 400 since we've been in conference play, or probably at 400 since we've been in conference play. And it's because we're becoming really, really difficult. It's a combination of that first pass. We're handling that ball better, which gives Callie options. And then everywhere she sets that ball, we've got people who can finish plays now. And early in the year, we were searching. Early in the year, we were really, you know, think back to how many matches you saw that Kaylee Cox and Kennedy Coyle were a massive part of what was going on offensively. You know, Olivia Skidmore from time to time, but now we're starting to get that from multiple people, and that makes us much more difficult to defend.
You know, you talk about obviously the changes over the 7 matches, especially from the beginning of the season, and kind of going back to the lineup settling down. I think the biggest change we've seen is Madison Chitty. She's become, you know, kind of a staple in that back row. You know, what kind of growth have you seen from her, and what impact is she having?
Yeah, Chitty was in a tough spot. You know, she's a veteran player, but she's not a veteran in our system, you know, and so it's this fine balance between trying to get her up to speed to how we do things and understanding that at this stage in her career, you have to not reinvent the wheel too much and live with certain things she does. And so it's been a feeling out process, to be honest, between our staff and Chitty because she's such a great kid and such a pleaser. She's going to try to do everything the exact way you do it, but in actuality, I want her to find that middle ground where she's not so worried about, you know, at this stage in her career as a senior, she should be playing pretty free, and we're trying to allow her to free up a little bit, even if it doesn't necessarily look like everybody around her from a technical standpoint, because she hasn't had the training that they've all had.
You know, you talk about kind of over the weekend the box scores, and you talk about, you know, different parts of the game are starting to become important, and you have different contributions from multiple players. Thinking to that second box score specifically, I think that was the first time all season we hadn't had a player in double-digit kills, but we've had 9 service aces and 8 total team blocks. You know, how crucial are those parts of the game when you get into, you know, a team like Middle who's have some of the better blockers?
Well, that's your security blanket is what you do on the defensive side of the ball in every sport. You know, I told our players after Saturday, no matter how good we get offensively, and we're playing pretty well offensively right now, you know, you're still vulnerable, you know, if somebody else can go out and outslug you. And, you know, you hit 4 home runs. If you give up 6, you still lose. And so we're trying to defend, even though we're getting better and better offensively, I want to defend with an urgency of a team that has no offensive capability at all. And, you know, our serve block was a huge part of our ability to separate on Saturday, because if we defend at a high level every day, we're going to win the close games when we don't play well offensively, and we're going to dominate when we do play well offensively, and that's kind of the mindset that we're trying to achieve.
Last but certainly not least, you know, we talked a lot about Middle, but of course we have Florida International Saturday, Sunday this week, weather permitting, obviously. You know, what are you kind of seeing from them? I think they're 2-15 on the season, you know.
Yeah, they're a team. College athletics is so interesting right now because, you know, people are putting teams together year to year in a lot of situations, and you're starting to see, you know, sometimes those pieces fall into place pretty seamlessly, and then sometimes those pieces take a while to connect. And it's not just about talent or not talent anymore. It's about cohesiveness and playing well together and doing those things. And, you know, FIU's got a lot of new faces this year, like they have had for the last few years. And it's taken them a while to find that connectivity. But when you look at their individual pieces, they're a talented team. So, you know, it's just a process for everybody right now, and a new day in college athletics. Like, you can't really put your finger on who somebody is because everybody's so new year to year.
The schedule this week, you play Tuesday, Wednesday. I would assume you travel Thursday, or you
Friday.
travel Thursday, Friday.
Yeah.
You know, just having the fact that you're having to go all the way down to Florida in the middle of a hurricane is the issue. How do you deal with that, knowing that you're going to play, then you have to basically get on the plane and go down?
Yeah, it's going to be an interesting week, you know, with that hurricane blowing through down there. You know, as of right this moment, it looks like it will blow through before we have to make the trip, but you just are simply unsure of what the aftermath's going to be of something that can be as devastating as that. And, you know, and first and foremost, we hope that thing makes its way through there with minimal damage, and you know, that people all get through it safely, and then we can worry about playing athletic events and things like that. And so first and foremost, you know, I know some areas, obviously not down where we're going to be going, but I know there's some areas may be impacted for the second time here in a very short amount of time. And so first and foremost, we hope that this blows through minimally, and that there's minimal damage to people and their things, and then we'll figure out where that leaves us. But it could be an interesting week, that's for sure.